guys know the drill by now. We got to let the stream breathe for just a second here and make sure that everything is nice and stable all across the YouTube platform. Welcome in, Broncos country. It is game day. The Denver Broncos are set to take on the Kansas City Chiefs week 10 of the 2024 NFL season. The Broncos looking to hand the Kansas City Chiefs, currently sitting at 8-0, their first loss of the season. Meanwhile, Denver is looking to improve their record to 6-4 and establish themselves as legitimate contenders in the AFC. We made a video earlier in the week talking about how even if the Denver Broncos lose this game, they still have firm grasp on that 7th seed for this week. But obviously, if you win this game, that will probably boost you up not only in the rankings, but also just in the overall landscape of the NFL based on how everybody views you right now. Let's go ahead and start saying hi to some people here. We've got C. Chang in the house saying, let's go Broncos. Game day, let's get a win. David says, I came down with the flu, so have a great show. Thanks, Gage, again for all you do for the Broncos. Feel better, David. That is never fun. Hopefully you're able to shake that quickly. C also says 20-24 Broncos. We got Maverick in the house, as always, saying, what's up, Gage? Hopefully you are doing well, boss. Hope you feel better. David says, Rodney, yeah, for sure. The flu is never fun at all. But let's go ahead and break down some of the top key things that the Denver Broncos need to hone in on if they want to win this game. It's going to be, no doubt, a tough battle. The Kansas City Chiefs offense is not the same offense that we're used to seeing like for all the previous years. They're not the same dynamic, explosive unit that we've seen in previous years, but they still can find ways to win. But the identity really of this Chiefs team right now is their defense. They are playing really well on the defensive side of the ball. They are towards the top in the NFL in a lot of statistical categories. They're solid as a pass defense, but they are excellent at stopping the run, which you would expect with Chris Jones anchoring that interior defensive line. So Denver's probably going to have some struggles running the football today. It's going to have to be a similar game plan as the last couple of weeks where they come out throwing. And I know that some people in Broncos country don't want the Broncos to be aggressive and go for it on 4th down rather than taking points when you're in the red zone, but you weren't going to beat the Baltimore Ravens by kicking field goals, and you're certainly not going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs by kicking field goals. You've got to be able to keep up with them, and the only way to do that is by scoring 7s, not 3s. So that's going to have to be a big thing for the Broncos in this game, is they're going to have to be focused on scoring 7s and not scoring 3s. We've got Rodney saying, good morning, Gage. And guys, thank you for always bringing positive vibes, bro. Absolutely, man. It's the only thing I know. We got Graham in the house saying, we got to win so T Swift makes a sad song about KC losing to Denver. I'll always remember after the Broncos beat the Chiefs in Denver last year, they were blasting Taylor Swift in the stadium. That was really, really fun. They were blasting Shake It Off. That was hilarious. So hopefully we get to blast Taylor Swift in celebration after this. Dylan says no penalties. Rodney says we need to win the turnover battle. And those are both things that are on my list here. First, let's go ahead and talk about the turnover battle. The last time the Broncos beat the Chiefs, they ended up forcing 5 turnovers. If Denver's going to have any chance to win this game, it's going to have to be a similar situation where you force multiple turnovers. A couple of special teams turnovers would be nice, maybe a muffed punt or something along those lines, but obviously you want to get interceptions on Patrick Mahomes. The Broncos had a really good defensive game plan last time around where they basically doubled Travis Kelce at all times. Jaquan McMillan was a big part of that. And now they've got DeAndre Hopkins they're going to have to worry about. But I feel like Pat Surtain's basically just going to travel with DeAndre Hopkins wherever he goes in this game. So that's definitely something that we're going to have to keep an eye on, is how the Broncos want to approach this strategy-wise for taking down this Chiefs offense. And then, again, this Chiefs defense, it's going to be a really tough matchup for this Broncos offense to get things going, especially on the ground. I'm worried about this run game. Javonte Williams, he's been hot, he's been cold pretty much all year long, and I think right now we're kind of leaning towards yet another cold game from Javonte Williams, at least on paper, based on how this matchup looks. If we can get off to a quick start, says Tanner, and no turnovers on the opening drive, I have hope. We got to start fast. Absolutely. And just in terms of winning the turnover battle, that definitely means don't turn the ball over on the opening drive. We've seen that now for the last couple of games, and it shot the Broncos in the foot repeatedly. They can't allow that to happen. Obviously, against Baltimore, they got off to a slow start, and Baltimore never let off the gas. It could be a similar situation here if Denver gives Kansas City the ball early. They could go downfield, they could take the lead, and they could never relinquish it. So that is definitely something that the Broncos are going to want to try to avoid. They want to control the tempo in this game. I want them to use a no-huddle offense, but then take the play clock all the way down before you snap the ball. It doesn't allow the Chiefs' defense to sub, so that way you can get some favorable personnel matchups. And additionally, it keeps the defense gassed. You can still control how you want to run the clock. You can still run the clock all the way down. You can still snap it quickly if you want to. But hurrying up and getting to the huddle, or getting out of the huddle quickly and getting up to the line, or even going no huddle, could be a strategy that the Broncos look to implement in this game. We saw them implement that in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game early on, and they actually had some really good success with it. So I think that's something that Denver could look to potentially do here. We've got Kenneth Miller Sr. saying, let's go Broncos defense. We got Mile High saying, let's go Mile High Magic today. D needs to step up, I'm assuming that's going to say. Rodney says, who do you think will step up on defense now that Simmons is gone? Who has always picked off Mahomes. Sorry for the drop mic, guys. I already talked about Jaquan McMillan. He got an interception on Patrick Mahomes in the last game. Obviously, we could be looking at some Patrick on Patrick crime here. Pat Mahomes versus Pat Surtain. That's definitely something that could possibly be a matchup that we could look at for sure. Rodney says, excited to see Estime to get more touches. And Sean Payton hinted at how Estime could see a little bit more of an extended workload in this game. He's been in the doghouse pretty much ever since the New Orleans Saints game because of his fumbling issues, but it seems now that the Broncos are ready to turn him loose again. Javonte Williams, again, has been kind of hot and cold to start the year, so I want to see the Broncos lean more into Audric Estime as we get into the colder months of the year where teams are going to be running the football a lot more, and that's going to be something that the Broncos can lean on really heavily as we get into these later months of the year. So I definitely want to see that for sure. We got Steve Canyon in the house saying, let's go, great job, Gage. We got Dylan saying, we need to win today's game. We need to have a big game winning. That would definitely help garner a lot of respect in the NFL. If the Broncos could go into Kansas City, put out a statement victory, and if they could win by multiple scores just like they beat the Chiefs last time, then yeah, this would be a win that would finally get the Broncos some respect in terms of being legitimate playoff contenders. Again, like we talked about, the Broncos are still locking into the 7th seed, even if they lose this game. They're still locked in, but still, I think that Denver needs to approach this game like it's a must-win game, one that they simply cannot afford to drop. We got Rodney saying Jaleel needs to hit those outside zone runs. Absolutely. I think that the outside zone runs could be something that we could look to do against the Chiefs because obviously it's a lot harder to run up the middle with guys like Chris Jones. Sorry, guys. I need to pound some more Mountain Dew. I am tired. I didn't get to bed till like 3 o'clock in the morning. Maverick says, also, don't drop the ball, little Jordan Humphrey, 100%. 100%. And I'm hoping that we see a little bit less of little Jordan Humphrey in this game. I'm hoping that we see more Troy Franklin. I'm hoping that we can see a little bit more Marvin Mims because little Jordan Humphrey has been a liability. You're still going to see him on rundowns as a blocker, but outside of that, I'm hoping we don't see too much little Jordan Humphrey. Rodney says, please, VJ, we need to play man coverage. I think we're going to see a lot more man coverage than we saw last week. They were so concerned about Lamar Jackson scrambling and some of the personnel matchups that the Ravens put out there. Vance Joseph talked about it in his press conference. That kind of forced the Broncos' hand in terms of the coverage that they had to play. And that really did hurt because Denver is a single high man coverage blitzing team, and Baltimore dictated it to where they couldn't really run those types of coverages. The Chiefs, on the other hand, don't really have as much personnel versatility as the Baltimore Ravens do. So it's going to be a lot easier for the Broncos to stick with their original formula, single high, man coverage, blitzing, generate pressure on Patrick Mahomes. And we talked about in the game preview yesterday that Patrick Mahomes is actually struggling under pressure this year. So if the Broncos can generate pressure, be it with blitzes with more than 4 guys or with a straight up 4-man rush, then that's obviously the best formula that the Broncos could have for winning this football game. This team is so momentum driven, hence the need for a quick start. We either go down big or go up big. There hasn't been much in between. Yeah, for sure. And that is exactly why the Broncos, first of all, if they win the coin toss, they need to elect to receive. They need to start with a no-huddle, up-tempo offense. Again, you can get up to the line of scrimmage quickly, make all your checks, and take the play clock all the way down. That way you're still burning time and winning the time of possession battle. But getting up to the line quickly does not allow the defense to substitute like we talked about, and it keeps them gassed. So that's something that I really want the Broncos to do from their opening drive on, because if they could use that sort of tempo, almost like the Broncos did in the Peyton Manning days, then it would allow the Chiefs to kind of be at a disadvantage on defense. So yeah, that's going to be a big thing in terms of grabbing the momentum early. Let's not blame the receivers for all of the drops. I've seen a lot of bad ball placements by Bo. Sure, Bo has definitely thrown a few inaccurate balls that have led to some bad drops. But that one on little Jordan Humphrey, I've seen people blame Bo for that, but it hit Humphrey in the mitts. He's got to catch that. The ball kind of went off trajectory because it grazed Humphrey's finger. He still needs to catch that. He had position for his hands to get that ball. He just didn't extend far enough. I'm not putting that one on Bo to a perfect or to a full extent. Like, it could have been a more perfect throw from Bo, certainly, but to a full extent, I'm not putting that on Bo. That's mostly on little Jordan Humphrey. Hope Jonathan Cooper plays pissed off and with energy to get to Mahomes. It's not just Cooper I'm looking to play pissed off with energy. I'm looking for this whole team to play like a stirred up nest full of hornets. I'm looking for this whole team to go in there pissed off and embarrassed after what the Ravens did to them last week, and I want them to dose out some of that same punishment to the Chiefs. I think that it set up very well for the Broncos to get the Chiefs after that Ravens game, because the Ravens were pretty much always on paper going to kick your ass. After an ass kicking, the Broncos have been able to bounce back pretty well in the Sean Payton era. I think it's going to be a similar situation in this game where Denver is going to go into that game. They don't want to lose back-to-back games. They don't want to be regarded amongst the bottom feeders in the NFL. That's just something they don't want to do. So I really believe that the Broncos are going to go in there with a different attitude, with a chip on their shoulder, and I really think that that's going to lead to a Broncos win, quite frankly. That's why I predicted the Broncos to win 21-20 in my game preview. I think that Denver is going to get the ball on the final possession. I think they're going to run the clock all the way down. They're going to punch it in for a touchdown, and then they're going to go for 2, which is what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers should have done last week, and that's how they're going to win the game. All right, guys, we are approaching the 15-minute mark here, so we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. We got Crumble Cookies in the house. Good to see you. Good to see you. We got Bronco Fan 99. We got A-Harks. We got Manny. Good to see all you guys. Alrighty, everyone. Let me know your score predictions for this game in the chat below. I would love to hear from you guys. Again, I'm going with Denver 21-20. I think Denver's going to go in there with intense energy. I think they're going to go in there and they're going to upset the Kansas City Chiefs. But let me know your thoughts on how this game is going to go, guys. Manny says, it's a rival game. Let's show up, Broncos. Smash these blank. I'm not going to say that out loud, but you know what we're going for. Kick ass today, Broncos. Let's go. Let's go. We got Daniel Garcia in the house. Bronco fan says 23-20. We got Manny saying 21-17 Denver. Rodney also says 21-17 Denver. Maverick says, not quite as positive as you, but the Chiefs are definitely beatable. The Broncos are just going to have to perform on their P's and Q's today. They're going to have to be disciplined. They're not going to win if they shoot themselves in the foot. And so they just can't afford to shoot themselves in the foot. Jose says 21-17. Daniel says 23-21. All right, Broncos country. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Before we dip out of here, guys, if you could just do me a big favor and leave a like on this stream as well as subscribe to the channel, I would really appreciate it, guys. Those are both free and easy ways to show your support, helps tell YouTube's algorithm to push us out, and helps us get seen by more and more members of Broncos country just like you and me. We will be going live here in about 20 minutes for the game stream. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. See you on the stream.